Even as the Finance Minister P. Chidambaram says Vodafone is unable to make up its mind over the settlement talks in the 20,000 crore rupees tax spat, sources close to the British telco say the company will use its arbitration notice as a trump card going ahead and will avoid the Indian judiciary at all costs. We've got Ashwin Mohan standing by with all of the details. Ashwin, what are you picking up?
Well, what I'm picking up from top-level sources close to Vodafone is that clearly 6 years after this controversy first broke out, there seems to be no love lost between the Indian government and the British telco. The conciliation talks have broken down. So the million-dollar question now is, what is the roadmap or the strategy as far as Vodafone is concerned in this particular case, which has been pending for the last 6 to 7 years? What I understand from sources is that Vodafone is very clear. It wants to use that arbitration notice that it had shot off to the Indian government last year when the retrospective laws were introduced. Remember, that notice was kept in abeyance because the settlement talks were going on. So clearly now the focus will be back on that arbitration notice, because that's what Vodafone wants to do. It wants to use that notice as a trump card and push the Indian government to get into international arbitration. That's exactly what the Indian government wants to avoid. Another facet that I'm picking up from sources is that Vodafone clearly wants to avoid, under any circumstances, to take this matter back to the Indian courts or to the Indian judiciary. They are very clear. They don't want to subject themselves to Indian tax laws. They are clear that as far as this tax liability situation is concerned, if at all this particular aspect has to be decided, it rather be decided in in arbitration at overseas jurisdictions. So that's what I'm picking up from top-level government sources, but we'll have to wait and watch to see whether the Indian government budges or not.